Okay, one of the first things you want to make sure is that your bass is in tune. So let's talk about different ways of tuning the bass. I have a 5-string bass, so my lowest note is a low B and not a low E. Still tuned in fourths, starting with G on the top, D, A, E, and low B. Now there are a few different ways to tune using your ear, which are valuable. And one is to play harmonics. That is, lightly rest your finger over, for instance, the 7th fret on the G string, and that gives you the D. Now at the same time, lightly rest your finger over the 5th fret on the D string, which gives you the same note. Now if these two strings are in tune, you won't hear any beats. And you go across the bass and do that on each string. So since we don't hear any beats, it sounds to be in tune. I'll show you what it would sound like if it were out of tune. And you listen for the beats. So you would simply tune it until you don't hear any more beats. Now since the bass is so low, the harmonics help because they are an octave higher, and it's also easy to play out of tune because a lot of the notes are very low and sometimes it's hard to hear over the rest of the band, so very important. Another way of using your ear to tune is to use the interval the 5th, and if that sounds in tune, it's a good indication. The 5th is a good indication to see if your bass is in tune. Now if all those methods fail, for instance you're in the studio or everyone is playing, it's actually a very good idea to pick up an electronic strobe tuner. Now we have one here, and this is a Yamaha, and many companies make them, but what this allows you to do is tune without having to hear the bass. You can just tune visually. This is a chromatic tuner, and you don't have to adjust anything. So we take a look at it, and we see that we hit the note, and we wait till it is centered over the blinking dot. And it varies from tuner to tuner, and sometimes it wavers a little bit, but as long as it's just over the center, the bass is in tune. So you tune each note with the open string, and it's a good idea in the studio to have your tuner, for instance, coming out of the output of your amplifier or out of the output of your direct box, so that it stays in line and you can glance over at it from time to time and make sure your notes are in tune. And another good thing to do is to, say for instance, play one note and make sure that one note is in tune across the bass. For instance, we'll play the E on the G string, E on the D string, E on the A string, and the low E on the E string, E on the B string. And that just allows you to check with your ears to see if the notes are in tune. Now all of that is fine, but the bass must be intonated. And by intonated we mean that the string length is long enough or short enough so that when you play the harmonic at the 12th fret and the actual note at the 12th fret, they're both equally in tune with each other. Now one of the tricks that we usually use, usually if you have to take your bass into the shop and get it intonated, one of the tricks that we usually use to intonate it is just rest it on your lap and get a Phillips screwdriver or whatever the screwdriver you need for your bridge would be. Go down here to the bridge and lengthen or shorten the string yourself. So for instance, you can see the bridge moving, and that way makes it longer or shorter. So a trick to intonating your bass now is we would take a look at the tuner, we would tune the note to G, we would get the G centered on the tuner, then we'd play the harmonic, make sure that was centered. Then we'd hit the note. Now if I notice that the tuner is a little bit off, for instance sharp, that means I have to lengthen the string to make it flatter again. So we go down to the bridge and make the string longer. Now one trick that I usually use in determining whether I should make the string longer or shorter is I look at the tuner, and if the notes move to the right of the center position, that means I have to move the bridge to the right or make it longer. And if the notes on the tuner move to the left of the center position, that means I move the bridge to the left. It seems confusing at first, but you'll get the hang of it. So now we look at our tuner, we hit the note, we hit the harmonic, and we hit the actual note. And the two sound in tune with each other. Now your bass is intonated, and all the notes will be in tune throughout the neck.